Hi everyone. So I wanted to update my YouTube channel for a while now on specifically a topic on books. So as I'm sure a few of you know, I'm in the process of writing my own book, which is really exciting. The one thing that it's made me realize is how many books I've read over my career. Most of them squash related, at least sporting autobiographies, some of them psychology based books, some of them self help type books. So I'm going to start by separating out some categories, and I'm going to do my top 5 or 6 if I can't quite decide. Sporting autobiographies, self help books, and specifically more like self help stroke sports psychology books. So specifically designed for sport. Today I wanted to start with my top 6 sort of self-help slash spiritual books. I've read a lot of them and they've helped me a great deal, probably particularly in my later career as I started to bit more understand that life's a bit bigger than squash and there's more to life than just whether I win or lose a squash match. So I picked 6 books. I have them here because I have them actually as a book. I also have a few of them on audiobook as well, so I can listen to them while driving. And I basically ranked them in the top 6. So I was going to start with my number 6, which is a great little book. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's by Dr. Spencer Johnson. And it's a great little book. It's kind of a bit of a laugh. It's nothing too thick. You'll read it in, 1 or 2 sittings. But it's about 2 mice who are trying to hunt down some cheese, and they need the cheese to stay alive and obviously to eat. Hem and Haw are the mice, and yeah, it's sort of, I guess, a bit of a take on putting yourself in their situation and trying to kind of always move forward. Don't just rest on what you've got and always try and look to the future. So they find cheese, and whether or not they're trying to look for more cheese and get through so that they can survive. It's really small. It's a great little book. I'm sure a lot of you will really enjoy reading it. Yeah, can't recommend that one enough. That was number 6 on my list. Number 5 is The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. I've read 2 of his books, I think, The Untethered Soul, and I've also listened to one of his he does a lot online, so there's a lot of stuff you'll find of him online, which is kind of almost like seminar type stuff. And it's a great book. It's about in fact, both of his books, this one, The Untethered Soul, and The Surrender Experiment, both sort of go about with the mindset of, we're a tiny speck in a massive universe. We're sat on a planet, a big ball of dust, effectively spinning in, a solar system that we don't even know how big the galaxy is. And he talks a lot about how can you ever possibly feel like you have control over anything in your life? It's a bit far-fetched in terms of that mindset, but at the same time, it really does get you thinking a lot about the size of our, not like our planet, our galaxy. It's just crazy. And so it's true, really, that if you can start to let go of a lot of things, and particularly his second book, The Surrender Experiment, which is also very good. But The Untethered Soul is a lot about that. It's a lot about thinking about the bigger picture. I've just flicked through like chapter 9, removing your inner thorn. Great chapter about how we all have thorns that if someone kind of, talking about if someone was to flick your thorn or walk past it and it would hurt. That's what people do when they upset you or when you take something the wrong way. And the idea is to try and not have too many of these thorns sticking out of you. So really great book. Recommend that one, Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. 4th on my list is one I read when I was quite young. This is called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, who's got a great few books out. And Dan Millman, who wrote the book himself, was actually a gymnast. And so I think in the book is kind of drawing on a lot of his own experiences. And the basic sort of outset is that it's a young guy at college, and he goes and meets kind of an eccentric old man, kind of bumps into him, but he's completely and utterly intrigued by how relaxed this guy is, how his outlook on life is so different. And he can start to, really, really look at his own life and his training as a gymnast, and get that changing so that it's a lot more going with the flow and the feel, rather than the train hard. The more you train, the harder you train, the more you'll get. Obviously there's a part of that, but there's also, a lot to do with kind of understanding yourself, understanding your body. And so that's a really great book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. Third on my list is a great book. Actually, I have 2 copies of this. That's how good it is. I probably have it on audio too. But it's called Daring Greatly, and it's by Brené Brown, who, for anyone who doesn't know Brené Brown, she has, I think it's the most watched TED Talk on their website, and her big thing is on vulnerability. And she talks about how we all need to be vulnerable. And I think a lot of us, we close off that vulnerable side because we're scared that we're going to get hurt, or, we're not going to be able to be the people that we want. But she talks about, and she says it on the front cover there, how the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. And so in actual fact, she talks about and gives a lot of scientific evidence as well on studies that they've done about how even though being vulnerable makes us feel uncertain and exposed, actually we build deeper relationships, we trust ourselves more, and it brings a lot more purpose and meaning to our lives. So it's a great book. She's got at least 2, 3, 4 other books out. Several podcasts I've listened to of her, and I really like her. Helps that she's a woman too. So give that one a go. That's Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. So second on my list is a great book called The Inside Out Revolution by Michael Neill. Brilliant little book, thin, just like the first one, a little bit thicker than the first one, Who Moved My Cheese. But this was probably the first book that I really read, and I think that's why it's hit me so hard, was where the book itself talked about having a choice of the emotions we feel, at least when we're healthy in our mind. And he actually says on the book here, the only thing you ever need to know to change your life forever. And I think that was the one thing, really. It was actually, if I don't want to feel this way, I can change my emotions in a minute, in a second. And I started to kind of realize how I was feeling sometimes, even sometimes when I was happy, when I was sad, and how I could flip those emotions. And it wasn't always necessarily a hard thing to do, particularly if it was just one of those moments. The outlook on certain situations, you have a choice that you can have an outlook and look on things in a certain way. So it hit me hard, this book, which is why it's number 2 on my list, because it's only small, but it's punchy, and I gained a lot from reading this. So really, really, really recommend it. And number 2 on my list, The Inside Out Revolution by Michael Neill. And lastly, number 1 on my spiritual / self-help book list is A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. So anyone who knows me is going to probably have heard me talk about Eckhart Tolle. I've read most of his books, I think, as I'm aware of. And basically this book, A New Earth, is awakening your life's purpose. There is something in this book for everyone, I guarantee it. And he talks a lot about the ego. And I think in actual fact, until we realise that we've all got an ego, we all pretend we haven't. And the more you say, I don't have an ego, means you probably do. He talks about over time how humans as kind of like a race have you know, a pain body that's brought from generations and generations, and we can't help but have parts of that in us and our outlook on life. There's an absolutely brilliant story about the duck with the human mind, which always makes me laugh and giggle. Basically, you know, if you ever see two ducks in a fight, they'll sort of have a little scrap, and then when it's done, it's done. Whenever, how do we know when it's done? They sort of swim off, flap their wings, get rid of all the surplus energy, and seemingly kind of never think about it again. Obviously, they're not thinking. Obviously, the thing with humans is that we then go off and spin our own tales, and I think it made me laugh a lot, that story, because things happen, and sometimes even when apologies have happened, those things stay with us. And so I think about that a lot. Like, am I being a duck with a human mind? Like, can I just, you know, float off and never think about it again? Because you don't get a duck going, I'm the king of this pond. You know, what's he doing coming over, swimming over to me? I'll show him next time. If he comes near me, I'm going to get him. I'll show him who rules this pond. And, you know, it's just that a duck doesn't do that. It's like they have the fight, they flap the wings, they get rid of the energy, and it's completely gone. So this is up there. There'll be something in this book for everybody, and that's why it's number one on my list of recommended reads. Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. So they're my top 6 books. I think that they are 6 brilliant books, and I can't recommend them enough. And as I'm going to go, as I'm writing my own book, I'm obviously reading a lot more, and I'm going to put a full reading list of what I've read at the back of my autobiography when it's out. Until then, I'll do another video with sporting autobiographies, and perhaps more of a sporting psychology list as well. But enjoy. Hope you can buy a copy of at least one of them.